So can you feel the evolution? Can you feel the evolution that the queer community lives, right? Lives, because it's still happening right now. I want to be really clear that that kind of oppression that we can now recognize as we look backwards is showing up in different ways, but it's still here. So Cindy last week talked about belonging, and it just kept resonating through me, this idea of belonging, just how important belonging is. And this quote is from Tara Brach, and she says, all humans desire a place of belonging in which we feel at home. A sacred space of true belonging allows us to thrive. We feel seen, understood, and valued. We are free, safe, held in love, and free to love others from our true self and deepest authenticity. In this place of true belonging, we have some protection from the darkness found in our world. Now, you may or may not identify yourself as part of the queer community, but can you feel how important this is to you as well? Because there's only one, everybody. There's only one thing. And we are continually called to show up in that more fully and more powerfully and more beautifully and more lovingly. And whatever our human experience is not meant to be a division. It's meant to be part of this magnificent kaleidoscope of fabrics and colors that come together to create something else. Can you see how magnificent that quilt is? It is greater than just one piece or one part of one piece. And this is what we're all being invited into, as a deep sense of belonging. And so last year I shared this, there's 7.2% of US adults identify as LGBTQ+, and you'll see the younger generation is, right, light years ahead of us. This year, it's 7.9. And I want everyone to just realize, too, that those numbers, we lost an entire generation. We lost an entire generation. So what would those numbers be if that generation was still with us? So in 1987, I was privileged to be here at Washington, D.C., when the AIDS Memorial Quilt was laid out for the first time. And this was not a gay pride parade. We've grown into that. This was a march. This was a demonstration. A demonstration saying enough. Enough. And a cry to be seen. A cry for that sense of belonging. A cry for what it was that our community was experiencing to be something that was valued. And I'll never forget this, because it was a march, right? And so we have grown into this idea that I am worthy and proud. That's something we have grown into. As Cindy shared, we needed to be affirmed of that. We're grown into the idea that we can claim that. Now, is everybody in here feeling worthy right now? Some of us might be. Anybody in here not feeling worthy? This is something that is human. It's part of the human condition. So I want us all to say the affirmation together. Let's say it. I am worthy and proud. We can learn something from the queer community. And yet this is what we experience. When I walked in that march in 1987, there was a whole section of the march where the other perspective of whatever is being demonstrated gets a place. And this is what we were met with as we walked. Right? This. And with megaphones. screaming these things at us. The one that always gets me is, God is your enemy. God hates you. I mean, really intense. And they're they really believe what they believe, right? They really believe what they believe. And I was lucky enough at that moment to be marching with the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir. And so they launched into a rendition of Amazing Grace. And it really was, they created this cocoon where when I play it back, I shared this at other gay prep, but when I play it back, I see these people, you know how people like in films, they yell in slow motion. That's what they were doing, this distorted sound that the sound of the choir sort of filtered away. And we walked in this cocoon of peace and possibility. Let's say it together. I am worthy and proud, even in the face of whatever it is that you are up against right now. Whatever that obstacle is that you think is standing in your way, whether it's someone who is trumpeting to the heavens that God hates you, or whether it's a relative who says, I'm not so sure you can do that. I am worthy and proud. So you can see what's happening. I talk about how it hasn't gone away. So in 2018, we had 18 pieces of legislation. One was enacted. 5 years later, this is from June of 2023, we were up to 385 pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation. So the ACLU 2023 closed with 510 anti-LGBTQ bills across the country. Right now, we're not even at the end of the year yet, and we are at 527. So I want to just look at this too, because in 2023, so there were 510 bills, 214 were defeated. Phew, right? 150 advanced to the next space. 84 were enacted, with 20 more being taken to court. So really, 104 were enacted. 20 of them are up for, is this actually constitutional? In 2024, though, we have more bills, but look how many more were defeated. 340. How many are advancing? 110. How many were enacted? Now, granted, we're only halfway through the year, but 41. So we could look at this and we could say, oh, look, the tide is turning. Can I burst your bubble a little bit? The reason why they think the tide is turning is because lawmakers aren't targeting some of these LGBTQ rights anymore because they've already eviscerated them. There is nothing more to legislate. Now, as Cindy has shared over and over and over again to us, when oppression becomes codified in our legal system, it is impactful for generations, not just right now. Once things are put into our legal system, it is so hard to undo them. Cleve in the video shared that it was a felony to be gay. It took forever to get that off of the books. Say this with me. I am worthy and proud. We can anchor ourselves in something even in the face of all of this. And it comes for me. This is that Taoist saying, when you open your heart, you get life's 10,000 sorrows and 10,000 joys. And that's what I want to invite us into. I know it can be hard sometimes to open our heart into the sorrows of others. We have enough of our own, maybe, but we're not separate from anyone. And we actually have the capacity to hold 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows, even if we don't feel like we do. We actually can hold all of that because of the truth of who we are, the divinity that we actually are. Even in sharing the deepest sorrow, we can find the joy of being seen and finding a place where we belong with one another. Even in the sorrow, Cindy is sharing how that, even in the sorrow of all of that death, the community was standing together. There was a sea change that happened because of the AIDS epidemic in terms of the women and the men and divisions and separateness, and all of a sudden, we become a more whole queer community because there's the recognition that we need to be there for each other, that we need to show up for each other even in the sorrow, even when something like this is just breaking our heart open again and again and again. So I hear from people often like, why it's so long and complicated, LGBTQ plus, what? But it's so important because can you feel how it's about belonging? It's about making sure that we are constantly creating a larger container. That we're not just saying it's the first march in '87 was lesbians and gays. And then we expand that, and we keep expanding that, and we keep expanding that. And some people think that that's silly or not important. And I would say, how do you create a sense of belonging for someone if they don't feel as if they're actually included? If they don't actually feel like they actually matter? It is so important. So when you hear me say LGBTQ plus, and I know it can be a tongue twister, practice, right? Practice. Just practice it. Everybody say it with me. LGBTQ plus. One more time. LGBTQ plus. It's important that that plus be there. Because in every moment, we are, the queer movement, if you want to call it that, is evolving always. So we actually call our pride the progress pride flag, because it's not done. And there are tons of versions out there. And I want you to just see the inclusion that is built into the flag. Red is for life. Orange is for healing. Yellow is for new ideas. Green is for prosperity. Blue is for serenity. Violet is for spirit. So even though this community was being told that they were dying because they were gay and that God hated them, the community said, that is important, that we understand that there's something larger than just us, that we absolutely have access to. And then the black and brown represent people of color. The white, blue, and pink represent trans, and the yellow, purple, and circle is intersex. And some of them even have an A for people who are asexual, right? And we say yes to, can you feel how important it is to say yes to that? That it's not trivial, that it's actually significant, that who you understand yourself to be feels as if you have a place of belonging. So as perhaps an ally, what can you do? How can you support? And so I love this question that Tara Brach says. She says, the beginning of healing is recognizing suffering and asking the question, where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Where in your life have you been told you're not enough? Where in your life have you been told you will never be enough? Where have you been told that God made a mistake when He created you? Can you feel how deep those wounds can be? And it's not just the LGBTQ plus community that experiences that. Anybody in here who's not part of that community feel this way? Right? Where does it hurt? And that means that we have to be willing to touch the 10,000 sorrows and the 10,000 joys. We can't be afraid of them. I would say it's why we're here. We're here to experience the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows and to stand with each other heart to heart, hand to hand, creating a space of belonging, because it's all about seeking to understand, offering your interested presence. Do you care? Are you interested? Can everyone feel how healing that would be? If someone was really interested in you and your well-being and your life and your joy and your pains as well. So I adapted this. New York Times puts out a thing where they ask readers to write in, like, what's their best mantra for 2023. This was from 2023. And this person sent this in, and I've adapted it slightly to fit with today's lesson. But breathe in, I listen for silence. Breathe out, I am not the hero of every story. Everybody with me still? You're not the hero of every story. Breathe in, I cannot be free alone. Breathe out, all are worthy of belonging. What if we all really lived into this? Because when we don't always identify ourselves as the hero of the story, it means that I'm interested in your story. It means I'm interested in how you're the hero in your story. It's not in competition. Can you feel how it's not in competition? But we have to be willing to just be interested. And that requires courage, because what we might get back is this: tears, loss, grief, sadness. That's the whole point of being in a spiritual community. It is not to bypass the parts of our life that are challenging and hard. It's not to pretend that they never happened or that they don't exist. Anybody in here try that? Did it ever work? You can't not pay attention to where you authentically are. And so we come together in spiritual community because we get to hold each other up in that. We get to see the truth of who we actually are, which transcends those 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. Can everybody feel that? That there is that which we are, which is larger than the joys and the sorrows. There's something else, something elemental, something deeply true that eradicates all sense of separation, all sense of difference. And creating a space of belonging is one of the ways that we get to show up in the world as that place of love and open-heartedness. So let's take this into a time of meditation. We're going to do this practice. Don't go to the meditation slide. Leave this up so that people can see it. Oh, right, I'm in charge. I forget that I'm in charge. So if you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you want to keep your eyes open, I always invite people to practice being still with their eyes open, because the whole point isn't to just be still when we're sitting on our cushion. The point is to be still as we're in the world. That's what Jesus did. He walked in the world as the I am. So we breathe into this space, this place that is perfect peace. That is absolute belonging. Can you feel that? All your sense of otherness, just in this moment, you can let them go. Whatever you think that is. I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. And as we rest in this place, I'm going to invite you to breathe in and silently say to yourself, I listen for the silence. And as you breathe out, say to yourself, I am not the hero of every story. And as you breathe in, I cannot be free alone. And as you breathe out, all are worthy of belonging. I listen for the silence, breathing in. I am not the hero of every story, breathing out. I cannot be free alone, breathing in. And all are worthy of belonging as you exhale. And let's just rest here together, breathing in and out, listening for the silence, knowing we're not the hero, knowing that we cannot be free alone, and knowing that all are worthy of belonging. How good it is to just be still and know that all are worthy of belonging. I am worthy of belonging. You are worthy of belonging. And that our call is to create that invitation within ourselves. Where are you hurt? I am interested in you, and I am not afraid of the joys or the sorrows. For I know the truth of who I am, and I know the truth of who you are. This magnificent, whole, perfect being of light. And it is in these connections, it is in how we come together, that the calcification that is blocking our own understanding of who we truly are rubs away, falls away. So in this moment, I just invite you to let your light shine. You are a light in the world. And just know the light that each person is here and everywhere. Even those people who were holding those signs, I want to call them into this space right now with love, with compassion. There is no other. Where are they hurt? Creating a space for true and deep and honest and authentic belonging. And so it is. Amen.